I'ma rule the world, I'ma rule the world, yeah, yeah. I'ma rule the world, I'ma rule the world, yeah. 색다른 느낌으로 만든 음악, 나만의 세상 만들어 장악. I'ma rule the world, I'ma rule the world, yeah, yeah. I'ma rule the world, I'ma rule the world, yeah. 해가 지고 뜰 때까지 I'm up, yeah.
Good evening, and I have a special tonight. I was in New York City recently at the NYU IHIF conference. For those who don't know, one of the largest hospitality investment conferences in all of North America. I had the privilege of sitting down with Cameron Sperance, the content and editorial director of Questex Hospitality and Travel. This interview is exciting. We talk about the K-shaped economy, what's shifting in travel, tourism globally, as well as in North America, and how Gen Z and millennials think differently about travel than the predecessors. I hope you enjoy. Today, I'm joined with Cameron Sperance, the content and editorial executive director at the Questex Travel Group. Cameron, how you doing?
Doing great.
Where
Thanks for
are we
having me
today?
in New York at the International Hospitality Investor Forum, and yeah,
It's pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie. This is my first year.
really we're lucky to have you.
Kind of blown away. Well, you guys were. I was very lucky to be invited. So thank you so much. Okay, so I want to chat a little bit here. You talk a lot about the K-shaped economy. Just explain for people what that is, because we're gonna go a little bit deeper on that.
K-shaped economy, not great for the broader population, but it is a booming time for the luxury sector of the market, because basically what it means is the top percentage of earners are doing really well right now, and more mainstream economy travelers not doing great.
And what does that mean specifically? Like, that's more general economy, but for hoteliers specifically and for owners, for a company like Hilton, let's say, what does that mean for them with regards to their RevPAR, but then also just their hotel pipeline?
It definitely means if you're looking at their brand portfolio right now, it's the luxury sector is doing phenomenal. The middle of the market not doing great, economy doing well, because you're seeing what would have been the typical middle class or mainstream middle market travelers. They're now to save money trying to booking high-end or premium economy hotels, and just trying to cut costs where they can. So
Now, we heard about the C-shaped economy.
yes.
Chris Nassetta came out about the C-shaped economy, and I know that it's kind of ruffled some feathers, his view on that. Do you agree? Do you see it as, yes, we are in a C-shaped, or no, the K? Because he declared it over in the Q1's call.
Yes. I do think it's a little premature, because I mean, anyone who's been to a gas pump recently is gonna, I think, find it hard to accept the argument that things are better for everyone right now. It's people are still paying a lot more than they did for groceries, but a lot more for like everyday items. So it's hard to kind of envision that the middle class is just suddenly doing a lot better than they had been 6 months ago.
Right. And I feel like I'm hearing him come out and say that. Do you feel there's maybe a little bit of bias? They've got 530,000 rooms coming in their pipeline. A lot of it's kind of weighted towards that mid-tier. They've seen it, but I will say on the flip side, they've also seen about a 5% lift in revenue just on the mid-tier, and only about a 3.2% lift on everything else. So, like, is that a sign of anything, or is that just kind of sometimes we have too many stats, I feel.
Yes. I mean, I will say this. I interviewed Chris last summer when they were rolling out the Waldorf Astoria here in New York, one in Costa Rica, and a lot of the arguments that we've heard yesterday here at IF, he was mentioning last year as well, is that infrastructure spending was going to start to pick up as the effects of that bill come into play. AI data centers under construction. I still think that's happening. I think like maybe he's been trying to kind of explain the direction of their pipeline and why some of these hotels are going to start to perform better
Through those comments.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Now, when we look at their competitors, we see the luxury economy just completely taking off. We see, like, for example, Marriott, Hyatt, Delta. Are they leaning into the K-shaped economy or the C-shaped economy?
I mean, I think they're definitely leaning into the K-shaped economy for now, because I mean, if you look at where a lot of growth is coming, even Accor, Europe's largest hotel company, lifestyle is driving that. And there's definitely some like leakage from lifestyle into luxury into lifestyle. They're definitely not abandoning the idea that the C-shaped economy is going to come into fruition. I mean, you see new brands have announced like Series by Marriott. That's playing to more of your mainstream traveler. So I think they're protecting themselves to get the full share of the travel wallet. But I think for right now, even if you look at some of the RevPAR forecasts, luxury is still going to lead the way for
Right. Now, the other thing though that I will say on the C-shaped economy is like, one, I don't know how sustainable that is, just as much as I don't know how sustainable the K-shaped economy. I don't know how sustainable our culture is, to be quite frank with you. But like, people are pissing their savings away, and instead of now my generation saving, because we're not, we're just pouring money into going and staying at hotels and travel. So, you know, normally maybe a 25-year-old would have $100,000 saved because they worked their butt off since they were 18 or 19 years old. Now they have 10,000 saved because they spent 90,000 or more on travel and cars and this and that. Are you seeing that?
Definitely. And I mean, I think even at some of our panels so far, you're having a little bit of questioning around this whole idea, like $1,000 a night is the new normal for a hotel room.
I can't do it, man.
Exactly. And I think even the luxury crowd is taking a bit of a pause of like, how sustainable is this? And you have some leaders saying that, you know, I think people are going to start to get a little fed up if they're not having the service that would be normally associated with a rate like that. I think some of this revenge travel that may have eaten $90,000 of that, you know, hypothetical savings account, I think that is dissipating quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so I do think the next 6 months are going to be very interesting because the luxury liftoff luxury is a big umbrella. And I think that top portion of it where you have your Amans, your Rosewoods, that's going to go great. I think sort of this middle and kind of entry level luxury, that's where people are going to start to say like, is it really worth spending $1,000 a night to stay at this, you know, luxury brand, but it's not giving me the service that you.
So you're saying either charge $3K a night US or charge 500.
Exactly.
Wow, interesting. That middle ground is really not. Yeah, no, I would say
there's a missing middle of luxury too.
Yeah, there really is.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really see Gen Z spending on luxury, and if they were, it would be that $1,000 a night, because in their head, that's what.
Gen Z, I think if they are going to spend on luxury right now, it's all about wellness because it's all
spa.
Yeah, exactly.
That's valid. Okay, so a study came out that I found was quite interesting. A lot of articles have been talking about this. Deloitte cited a 45% of Americans planning summer travel with paid lodging. Now, that is a 6-year low, but still 45%, right? On the flip side, though, 35% are saying that they can't afford it at all. So what's can two truths be true at the same time, or?
For sure.
They can't afford it. You're still booking it.
Yeah. I mean,
and hoteliers know that.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. Think of all of the like, you know, pay or buy now, pay later plans coming out. And it's, I mean, exactly. That wouldn't be rolling out if it weren't for the fact that they know people are just kind of saying what's non-negotiable right now is a good experience.
So then we're almost getting into a bigger economic situation.
Yes.
This is like people funding their lifestyle on debt.
Yeah.
Can only kick the can down the road. So
that I mean, yes.
Is this something that you're concerned about at all?
Oh, of course. But
you just choose to take it day by day. I didn't want to get into a too big economic conversation.
But I mean, it's definitely every time you see a company kind of roll out one of these, it's yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that we heard yesterday from the CEO panel, which by the way was awesome, and I know you moderated the panel just before that.
Yes, we were the opening act.
And it was, I mean, you had him on, kind of sit on the chair too, talking about luxury. For the foreseeable future, they don't seem too concerned about the spend of the K-shape around wealthy people spending money on luxury. They always will do that. They don't seem concerned about that.
But also think about who was on that panel. I mean, they're not necessarily catering entirely to the folks who are the entry levels or aspirational luxury. Aspirational luxury is kind of like younger people who are just like, they're not going to a Ritz-Carlton every week, but they can save up and maybe it's once a year, once every 2 years.
A base level hotel, but go to a nice spa.
Exactly. The people who were on both panels, I mean, are the ones who are catering to the clientele who don't think twice about spending on a multi-generational spring break what some people would put towards their first home.
I want to switch gears a little bit, talk about labor. This was something, so I do my research. So 4 years ago,
it's very clear.
So 4 years ago at Skift, you actually spoke about the labor crisis, and you were asked, you know, what is something that you foresee in the future? And I'm looking at a YouTube video 4 years ago that you are concerned about, and you really talked about labor. You seem very, you just seem very concerned about it and what that looks like. Now, let me just quickly say this. So predated the pandemic, that hotels had to pay more and market the industry better. Then at TPG, you wrote the workforce had technically returned to pre-pandemic levels, but the guest experience hadn't.
Yeah.
Is labor still of one of your biggest concerns? Would you say the same thing?
Absolutely. I mean, even with that statistic about having returned to pre-pandemic levels, there's still a widespread labor crunch in the hospitality workforce heading into the pandemic. And then I think where this even compounded is the pandemic happens, there were enormous layoffs to this industry. So people lost trust in an industry that was already, way short of the workforce that it needed to fill up a hotel room.
Right.
And so I am concerned. It's where I don't mean to be Pollyanna, but when they do say that the AI will help this industry and, give people more opportunity to have, person-to-person interaction, I do think there's some earnestness and genuineness in that, and not just like, oh, the robots are coming to just take over everyone's job.
Well, so it's funny. The CEO panel yesterday.
Yeah.
So I think was it IHG on the far side was basically coming up to say, yeah, well, in China the hotels are built for robotic housekeeping.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're not built for the New York hotels that are behind us.
Exactly.
But then even on top of that as well, when we look at, like, for example, the CEO of Accor, Sebastian, came out and said, hey, yeah, about 30 to 40% of on the ground workforce in hotels are going to be shifted by AI. Like right now, a Hilton standard, for example, is for every 100 rooms, you need one front desk person during checkout. We work with a hotel in Idaho Falls, 1,000 rooms, right? They got 12, they have to have 11, 12 people at the front desk. Could you get that down to like 6?
It is going to be a case-by-case basis, because there are certain segments of the market that do want that high-touch experience. There are certain segments of the market that kind of lend itself to be, a select service hotel, obviously, I think you can digitize that or find a way. And they're already kind of trying to like slow drip that with mobile check-in, things like that. So I think there's genuine opportunity there. It's not a one-size-fits-all model.
It's valid. Okay. One of the things that came out, New York, the union, hotel union, I want to talk to you about this just really quickly.
Yeah.
So just talk a little bit about what had actually happened and what went down. Everybody wanted more money, but can you kind of elaborate just a little bit on it? I know it's more nuanced.
Yeah, I do think it's a pretty nuanced issue.
Taking advantage of FIFA?
Yeah. I'm going to pass on this one.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about in December 2022, you actually wrote about hotels being very slow to adapt to tech.
Yeah.
Do you still feel that way?
Yeah, I think real estate as an industry, which hotels are a piece of real estate. The real estate sector in general has been notoriously slow to tech. And I think it's just a hotel is a descendant of the commercial real estate industry. And that's just kind of a widespread issue. I do think they're coming around to it. I think AI has been a piece because of the labor driver there, that they've kind of been quick to adapt to this. I think also where the hotel industry has been slow to adapt on tech, it's caused plenty of disruptors to come through. Airbnb, before that, the OTA orbit of the Expedias, the bookings, and things like that. So I think they don't want to have it be 3 strikes and you're out. So I think a lot of companies like Marriott,
3 strikes you're out. It's actually so valid.
So it's where I have heard CEOs really get in front of AI for years and talk about, and they've been candid saying this isn't something that's going to happen in 6 months or a year. But they've been, I know there's a lot of R&D going into this.
Right. They are pouring a lot of money into it. One of the things that we were chatting a little bit about was what happens with Expedia, Booking.com, like foresee the future for me. Tell me, what's the next 5 years? Like, are they going under, or like, are they taking off?
No, I see some opportunity there. I was at the Points Guy before here and spent a lot of time looking at the loyalty ecosystem. And I think companies in the OTA space have a real opportunity if they couldn't create an agnostic loyalty program, which some of them are.
Don't they kind of already have?
They do, but I think where AI can work in their benefit is if they have a loyalty program tethered to their booking engine, and you're just bypassing I only have to stay with hotel brand X for 60 nights and get my loyalty perked. If you have this kind of, free agent loyalty program, if you will, that you accrue by booking through an Expedia or any other OTA, that becomes a really kind of a strong competitor in this space.
Do you think they have enough leverage to really? Yeah, just simple.
Yeah.
Now, okay, let me play devil's advocate just for fun. So I'm a user on ChatGPT, and I'm searching up. They just launched their paid ads manager as well. I'm searching up a hotel that I want to stay at. What about the world of ChatGPT coming out and actually creating some sort of affiliate link? When they link to a hotel, they go direct and then they can get something from the hotel rather than going through Expedia. I mean, it seems like a lot of the search volume is through.
But reverse engineer that.
Okay, yeah.
Reverse engineer that. It's not, I mean, yes, the hotel companies are trying to build that, but also the booking.coms are, you know, they have a lot of value as well. It can just as easily route it their way.
Valid through the AI platforms. You don't think there's a world in which the AI platforms may come out with their own booking platform?
Oh, of corse. Of course.
So we may actually
it's
see
the Wild
that.
West right now.
Okay, all right. Okay, so let me ask this question. Just kind of talking about Nassetta's comments a little bit. Going back to the C shape, one of the things I wanted to kind of paint as a picture was, A, he's right. The C shape arrives, the middle kind of reflates. Mid-tier RevPAR catches up, things are looking up and up. Or B, he's wrong. The K deepens, mid-tier compresses, and really you get a lot of distressed assets kind of in that middle class, like that $1,000 a night room, which you make actually a very valid point, something I, even digging into this interview, I didn't think so deeply about. Which do you weight more going into 2027? I'm asking you to be an economist and tell the future. So
I mean, it's, if you look at it purely from a hotel lens, I see the C where it could come together. I think my own view is it's going to look kind of like a pancaked C because there's such broader issues happening right now in the economy with home prices, et cetera, that it's just, we would have to build so many more houses for the C to actually fully inflate and people to kind of see that affordability for the middle class across the ecosystem. Now, granted, they are building a ton of middle market hotels, brands. You see the drivers for that with highway construction, data center construction.
will that supply sort of force the demand to go into that mid-tier?
I think it can to a point, and so that's where I have kind of like a C. That's kind of an I also at the same time. It's I don't know what.
Can you read my palm? I don't know.
Exactly. I don't know what exactly letter that is, but it's going to be a little sad, anemic inflation. So it's not going to be quite as bad as things have been, but I think there's some big issues that we need to solve first.
It'd be like a slow burn.
It'll be a slow burn.
Yeah, okay, that's valid. Okay, let me ask you this. If you had strong capital backing to start the next $1 billion startup in hospitality and tourism, what product or service would you create?
It's going to be twofold. It's I do think people are becoming, it's a brand that has to figure out how to not be a brand. I think people are so brand kind of weary right now. They've dealt with devalued loyalty programs. They're not feeling valued themselves like they were back in the day. I mean, like everyone here, it's hard to find someone who doesn't like miss the days of like Starwood preferred guest and, you know, the Barry Stern linked model. I think it's finding a way to get back to that you can get a return on investment. It's where we've seen folks really returning to travel advisors. It's the 5th fastest growing profession in the US right now. So I take that as a sign in the broader economy. If people want to feel special, people want to feel valued when they go into a space. People don't want to feel nickel and dimed. So I need to find out how you still hit your margins and get a return on investment. But that's the $1 billion brand I would do. Okay, obviously, but also because I still think that there's gas in the K-shaped economy engine. It would be focused in the luxury
space. And also, you're not going to deal with the customer that's complaining about price really ever.
Exactly.
It's more about value, right? That's at the end of the day.
Okay, we hear that a lot from this crowd.
I know.
It's not about cost; it's about value.
It's about value. But then you're charging $4,000 a night.
Exactly.
Anyways, so
as long as you can get everything in the minibar for free,
right? So actually, there was a comment that was made yesterday, just really quick about well, let's be honest, people. It was actually, I think it was Jack had said, let's be honest, people. They pay $3,000 a night. They're not staying in their room. They have nicer homes than that. And I thought, that's so valid. Yeah. That's so valid. Yeah. So what is somebody who is spending $3,000?
You're missing the second part of that.
Okay,
quote.
Go.
What they don't have at home necessarily is love and care, which I was like,
He just says it like it is.
I
loved it. You handled it well, though. You had some good spice.
I didn't know if I needed to give a hug or something with that piece, but no.
Okay, let me ask you this last question for you, because I know you've got a whole conference to help run and moderate. What's the next story about this industry that nobody is talking about that you think everybody should be writing about?
Oh gosh. I I'm really interested in how far hotel companies are going to go with wellness, because there's spa, there's, activities and things you can do. There is so much rising fervor about basically medical tourism, and people are talking about peptides. People are going to basically get like full, I don't
New
know.
bodies, just say
Exactly,
it.
exactly. It's just like I'm very curious to see how far investors will let brands go, because then you start entering into a regulatory environment, and in this whole like asset light climate, sorry, tongue tied.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to envision that they want to take on like that kind of burden, but if that's where their guests are going, why wouldn't they follow?
So like you're saying build a hotel in Turkey next to the doctor that's doing my hair transplant.
Precisely. And
Interesting.
have the transplant on site.
Cameron, thank you so much. This was great. I really appreciate
Let's
it.
end on
Thank you.
hair. Yeah.
I love it.
I hope you enjoyed this interview, and certainly Cameron had a lot to say. More to come on tourism and travel, as it's one of the largest, actually second largest economic drivers in all of Canada specifically. More on this in the future, but if you enjoyed, then make sure to join the conversation at My Generation on all social media platforms. And with that, I'll end off with this. Do not simply accept what you are told. Challenge your thinking, engage in differences, and listen to new perspectives. Thank you, and have a wonderful night.